Hello, my name is Ideet, and today is October 22nd. I grew up in Canada on the West Coast, on the East Coast, and also in Israel. My parents moved around a lot, not necessarily for work, just, for a change of scenery. I was always into creating art as a child. Sketching and painting, watercolors, crafts, clay. I would get lost in the process, and I think it was very regulating emotionally for me. I often think about how different brains perceive art. Talking about neurodiversity, I have 2 kids that are neurodiverse. And that has led me to reflect on my own neurodiversity. My biggest influences are Kandinsky, Paul Klee, and any kind of brutalist architecture out there. I love form. My mind is very much an abstract thinking mind. The relationship between lines, colors, textures are stories within themselves. For me, it doesn't have to be a figure or an actual object. The forms, the lines, the colors speak for themselves. And somehow balancing them and creating a relationship between them is something that I find really satisfying and beautiful. My focus right now is finding my authentic voice through my art. I've been doing a lot of exploration, different mediums, different styles, and while it's been a lot of fun, that exploration, I'm really enjoying honing in on my authentic voice, just making it very clear who I am and what I'm making, what I want to put out into the world. It can be challenging to have an art business. There's a lot of things you have to kind of figure out other than making art. Making art is the fun bit. Then there's the marketing, networking, applying for art calls, admin, organizing all your art, figuring out pricing. All that stuff is quite challenging. I wish I had better marketing skills and people skills and admin skills. All those would have been an asset. You do learn after doing it for a while. You become better at it, and you become better at receiving rejections for, like if you applied for a gallery or an art call. Rejections do happen, and you have to just try to not take them personally and just keep pushing through and just keep doing what you love. I've been exploring with different mediums, basically materials that aren't necessarily used for art or not created for art. They're more for construction, like lime wash and clay paint. I find that fun to think outside the box when using materials that aren't necessarily art related or visual art related. I do listen to music while creating art, all kinds of styles and mediums. It definitely gets me going, especially dance music. It's really great to dance in the studio while I'm making the art. I have my headphones on, and it's kind of like a somatic experience. You can come up with some really cool results when dancing with your art. I love observing people's reaction to art. So many tastes out there. I feel sometimes that art is very relatable to how our brain perceives the world. As an example, when I have an open studio with lots of visitors, some people come into the studio and they take a look and they turn right around and they're like, no, this isn't for me. And then others will come in and all of a sudden there'll be a huge smile on their face and they'll come and talk to me and say, you get me. Or they'll say, wow, I feel really, really relaxed in here for some reason. That feels really great to affect people like that, because it's great to see something that I have created put a smile on someone's face. Also teaches me a lot about our brains, because I have 2 children that are neurodiverse, and that has led me to think about neurodiversity within myself as well. I think that part of what I create in my art is a composition that is really just satisfying for my brain. Managing that composition just feels great, feels good, and when everything's balancing just right, my brain just goes, that feels good. And I see that with people who come into my space and are surrounded by my art, and I see the same exact process happening there. It's like it's neurologically satisfying. I love that. I love that we all have very different ways of perceiving the world and perceiving art. One of the best reactions that I've had to my art is someone coming in to my studio and saying, you get me, and having a huge smile on their face, like finally somebody gets me. And when that happened, I felt, no, wait a minute, you get me, and that's amazing, because you get what I'm trying to create here, what I'm putting out into the world. Thanks so much for listening to my observations about art and my own process. My Instagram handle is at Ideet.Sharon. I share a lot on Instagram. It's kind of like my little art diary. Coming up, we have an annual arts festival in Vancouver, BC. It's called the Eastside Culture Crawl, and there are hundreds of artists in this little catchment who open their studios to the public. It happens over 4 days, and it's a pretty cool event. I actually used to be one of the visitors at this event a few years back, and I was so inspired by all the art and the art spaces that I went to the art store the next day and got a bunch of art materials and began creating art and haven't looked back since. And now I have my own studio and I open it to the public, and it's really, really great to share.